What's going on, my good people? Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Tea. I'm super excited to have you guys with us today. This is going to be a really great conversation as we are winding down our season. I started talking about marriages, so it would just be fitting to end the very first season for us in talking about marriages. So if you're out there, say, hey, how you doing? Let me know you're watching. Like, share, subscribe, all of those good things to Coffee and Tea. Tonight's conversation is about the husband blueprint. We talk a lot about what women are supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to prepare ourselves to be wives, but we never really have this conversation about being a husband and actually talking about it from a male's perspective. So I have a great group of guys that are on. They are all married. So I can't really say what's going to happen during this conversation, but I know it's going to be a good one. So I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to bring in our newbie first, just because he's never been on the show before. He is a very good friend of mine. Again, somebody I went to high school with. We were in the band. And he has a phrase that I really can't say. Well, that he used to have. I don't know if he still feels that way about kids anymore, but we'll see how he feels now being a married man. My friend Tamal Lee, who has been married 12 years. Hi, Tamal. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris, what's up? Yeah, I still feel that way about kids.
You'll have to put down later what the phrase is.
Yeah, I still feel that way. When you have, especially when you have older children, yeah, you still
You still
like
feel
that.
that way.
You feel that way more when you have older children.
Oh
Like when
Lord.
they like young adults and teens, yeah,
Hmm.
you feel that way.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that folds into the conversation.
Understood.
Next, I'm going to introduce my friend. He's been on the show before. He is one half of the dynamic duo that is the Two Fat Guys podcast. They are just two fat guys talking about comics, movies, wrestling, and other things. Their last episode, I believe, they're in their spooky season, so they've been doing a lot of horror movie battles, folks in the horror movies. And I believe the last one was Jason Voorhees and Judith Myers. So Mr. Kevin Crazy Gross can correct me if I'm wrong, but I hope I got that right this time, Kevin.
Who is Judith Myers?
What's her name?
It was Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers.
Uh,
Halloween.
well, y'all need to change what it say on the video because that's what it say on the video.
It don't say Judith.
It say Judith.
I will double check that because I'm pretty sure I'm the one that typed it.
Double
Anyway,
check that, my G.
anyway, how are y'all
Yeah.
doing this evening? As Chris said, I am one half of the dynamic duo known as Two Fat Guys Podcast. Yes, it's all one word, like a pimp named Slickback. It is all one word. A podcast. Two is Two Fat Guys Podcast. And thank you for having me back again. And you know how us fat guys do. We bring shenanigans with us. So
I know, and then the fact that we all know each other just ensues the level of shenanigans that is getting ready to happen. But I have to
amen.
bring the third person in who is just probably going to add insult to injury when it comes to shenanigans. He is the host of the Married Life podcast, where they discuss the good, the bad, the ups and downs of marriage. His last episode was their anniversary episode. So he just took some time to look back at the beginnings and kind of where the channel is going moving forward. And he is also the host of In the Basement with B, where they talk all things pop culture. And he's in a brand new series called The Powers That Be. It's all about your favorite superheroes and their superpowers, and he kind of explains like how they have the powers And the last episode, I believe he was talking about Superman. So he can correct me if I'm wrong as well. My friend, Brian Johnston.
What's going on, good people of the world? How's everybody doing? Yeah, Chris, it was last episode was the powers that be was on Superman. And
That's not
yeah,
surprising.
It's like his favorite character.
here we go. Here we go.
Y'all already starting the foolishness. And of course, I wish we could have had him on the show too, because I'm sure he would have had a lot to say about this topic. But hey, Anthony, how's it going?
My little bro. Well,
Uh-huh.
can't say little.
That's your little big bro.
Yeah, a little bit, bro.
My aunt, and then Anthony says what's up to Mr. Lee up there.
What's up, Anthony? What's up, bro?
So, we're gonna jump right into this, the husband blueprint. So all of you are married. So let's go ahead and talk about your other halves, your better persons, if you will. And just tell us a little bit about how long you've been married, how many kids you have, so on and so forth. So I'll let Mr. Lee go first.
Okay, I've been married for 12 years and we have 4 kids. I have older girl, Gabrielle, who is 21, and a wife brought with her my bonus boys they'll be 17 and they're twins, they'll be 17 Saturday. And we have a little girl, she's 7 years old, her name is Katie.
Okay.
Um that's really about it. I mean, blended families is tough too. Like it's tough to deal with, but you get the hang of it after a while.
Okay. Mr. Kev.
Oh, I've been married for 9 years. I have 3 beautiful children. 24, 20, 16, 2 boys, 1 girl, in that literal order. My wife and I have, oh Lord Jesus, on and off 20 plus years, but we've been married for 9. It'll be 10 next July.
Okay. And Mr. Johnston.
Well, I'm officially a widow. I get a widower. Me and my wife, if she lived, we would have been married 8 years this year. 9 years. 9 years this year. We would have been married 9 years. We had together 3 children. I have my oldest daughter. She's 18. And my 2 boys, AJ and CJ, at 10 and 7. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for bringing your expertise and your wisdom to this particular show. So let's go ahead and start with this question. Did you guys always want to be married?
I did.
Yes.
I did, yeah.
What made you decide that you wanted to be married?
Well, with me, I just wanted that closeness and I always wanted a family, you know. I just always wanted, well, I always wanted children. Like, I wanted a boy. I didn't want a bunch of children though. I always wanted like 1 or 2.
Hence
Right.
your phrase.
Right. You know what I mean? I always wanted just like 1 or 2, but I just liked having that family atmosphere, that closeness, that togetherness, doing stuff like that. That's what I always wanted.
Okay. Either of the other two?
I just saw how my mom and my dad were. They was such a great example of a husband and wife that I just wanted that. Like, it was so cool to see them do them as a husband and wife outside of being parents. And growing up, I just always wanted that. It's just the example that was laid before me. Like it was so cool that to me it was the thing to do. So yeah, I want, and like tomorrow I wanted kids. So, and I wanted to do it the right way. I didn't want to be a baby daddy. So yeah, I went about it that way.
Okay. Okay.
Cosby Show. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like my parents didn't get married. My parents didn't get married until I was 13. So my parents didn't get married until I was 13. So for the first 13 years, like my father was a weekend father. Not like I would go see him on the weekends. He would come spend the weekend with us, and I come home at the school Friday. My pops is there. I wake up Sunday morning. He ghosts. Like, all right. So that was my dynamic for 13 years. So it was like the TV people that gave me the examples of what marriage life was like. And I felt like at that time, the Cosbys, as at that time, it was the realest thing to me. You know, so I felt like, yeah. And we kind of touched on this, Chris, when I was on your last show with me and my wife. I was like the affection and like the family aspect. And I came from a good family. Like we spent time, we did Thanksgiving, we took trips, we did all that. So yeah, I wanted that. But just like watching the Cosby Show was like as crazy as it sounds. I know I'm not the only one, but that was like my example.
You got a sweater?
Marriage.
Did you get a Cosby sweater?
No, I didn't get the Cosby sweater. No, I ain't do all that. You know, I didn't even realize until high school he was rocking Coogee sweaters in the 80s. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Like I didn't even realize they was Coogee sweaters until they got popping when we was in high school all over again. And it was like, yo, these dudes out here rocking Bill Cosby sweaters. Are you serious? And I was like, whole time he was rocking Coogee sweaters. So Bill Cosby was a trendsetter.
Yeah.
Cosby was a trendsetter.
Hilarious. So with this stuff in mind, what do you believe is the foundational element or elements of a successful husband?
Faith.
Yeah.
For me, faith.
Yeah, that was it for me too.
My faith is what kept me grounded in my marriage. Both of them. This is my second marriage. It was my faith, and the one thing I can say, my first marriage, God wasn't first. In my first marriage, we acted like God was first, but He wasn't. So that's why a lot of the things that transpired within that first marriage took place. But this one, God's first.
Okay.
You know, and so with my wife, like I said, we've been on and off for 20 plus years. That was just God saying you should have been here in the first place, but you wanted to be stupid, and so you get burnt when you stupid. So yeah, it was faith is my foundation for my marriage. Like that's the beginning and the end of it before anything else.
Yeah, same here.
Right. Simone?
I agree with them, but I'm gonna add on to also knowing yourself and your limits. A lot of the times, us as husbands, right, we'll get into a marriage and not realize how much as a husband and as a father you have to put into it. Like it's a lot. Like when we were talking about me and a friend of mine were talking about how some women throw around this word provider. And usually when they using the word provider, they're using the word wrong. The word that they're trying to find is trick. That's the word they're trying to find. Because it's a difference between a provider and a trick, right? Because when you hear the word provider, when you hear some of these women use the word provider, what are they referring to? Every time it's talking about a man that pays for stuff.
That's very true.
That's what the trick is. Right? I mean, but that's the truth. That's what the trick is. A provider is someone that, I mean, they pay for stuff, yeah, but they also have to provide structure and discipline
Yeah.
emotional support,
Yeah.
spiritual support, protection. Like that's a lot.
Mhm.
And and it's like when us as husbands and some of us, like I can't speak for the other gentlemen, but when I was a kid and you heard about marriage, the main thing that they always talked about is you making the money. I ain't talk about. I wasn't taught nothing about no being a spiritual guide and and we was taught the protection, but you weren't taught anything about being having emotional support and other support and everything else that you need to be a husband. Like we were just taught make the money and protect the family. That was it. That was
I,
nothing else.
but I think for us, depending what generation of men that we was raised by,
Right.
you see,
Yeah.
because my father was born in the 30s,
Same here.
so his upbringing was his father, my grandfather, was a cold dude.
hmm
So it was no emotion for men. Men didn't show emotion.
Mhm.
If you are a husband or you're a father, you get up, you grind, you take care of your family. That's your job. All
hmm
that emotional support comes from the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kid hurts himself, mommy kisses the boo boo. Daddy, get your butt up, get back out there, toughen up.
hmm
You think the ground hurt, the world gonna hurt. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but see, Chris, you make that face, but if you grew up as a male and from that, that's real.
Mhm.
hmm
Yeah.
That's real because I can literally count on one finger how many times I heard my father say, "I loved you," because that's the era he came from. So no, we wasn't taught to be emotional support or to put God in your marriage. It was get up, take care of your family, and push through it.
Okay.
So
So,
so the blueprint over the years has changed
mhm.
hmm
Yeah. Absolutely.
because now men understand or men are getting women to understand, yo, I break.
Yeah.
So as much as support you need from me, I need from you.
Because your job as the husband and the dad, your job is to pour into everybody. Your
Yeah.
wife's job is to pour into you. Now, if your wife ain't doing her job, then you can't pour into an empty cup.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's why a lot of guys, like when I said this and people were looking at me like, oh, like I was like, I like, you're when you're being you're expected as a husband and a dad, they expect a lot from you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? So when I hear about men just up and leaving, I don't condone it, but I damn sure understand it. I understand that shit. Like, cause I'd be like, God damn, like you do, like, can you just imagine doing all this shit for people and they don't, they're not grateful.
I
Right.
They
watched
just take
I,
you for granted. And then
I
when
watched
niggas be like, I'm gonna go get the milk and I'll be right back and don't come back, I understand
You
that.
know, not the go get the milk scenario.
I
or I gotta go
understand.
buy some cigarettes. But
Yeah.
I understand.
it's funny because it's funny, but it's not funny. Like I watched this interview. It was a man and a woman, not married, not together. They was just doing this panel discussion, and then she kept saying that men cheat because with it's a physical thing for us to cheat. And the guy was like, I guarantee you, if you talk to 10 men, 4 of them are going to say they cheated because it was physical.
Yeah.
The rest of them are going to say because it was emotional. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be physical.
Mm-mm.
If we feel like at any given time that we get positive and this genuine interest from another woman, and we know that our woman ain't home, our wife ain't home, is like you said, it's not pouring into us. That's what happens.
And
I'm not
then
condoning it. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I'm not
Yeah.
condoning it,
not condoning it, yeah.
but
But
it's understandable.
mhm, I
So
agree
it's
with you.
so once again, so now as a man, it's either And I think a lot of times it's hard with the blueprint that we're referring to, because you have women that are emotionally supportive, but then you also have women that are like, they was taught by their mothers and their grandmothers or their aunties. Now, this is, like you said, this is what a man do. Da, 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 da. And we get beat down by that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in that situation, what do you do? Like, do you knuckle up and just suck it up?
No.
Or do you, or like you said, do you be like, you know what? I gotta make a market run.
Right, I'm gonna buy some scratchers.
Yeah, like you explain what's going on, and if she can't understand it, and like some women can't, and that's what I would try to tell people. And
is it that she can't understand, or she won't?
Or she won't, right? Or even if she won't understand it, right? If she won't understand it, I tell young, I was like, like, you only got to tell me once that you don't want me, I'll leave. You only got to tell me one time.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to hear shit about no accidents and none of that shit. I'm out.
Now, see, that's the difference, because
I don't want to hear I didn't mean it.
So here's my caveat to that, because a lot of what you guys are talking about is a level of vulnerability to be able to have like these open conversations to say, look, sweetheart, look, honey, whatever nickname or pet name y'all use, you know, I'm trying to do, but I can't do everything because I'm not getting the support that I need to get from you in order to perform the role that I'm supposed to. So how do you guys pivot into a space where you can have those conversations and get the things that you need in order to fulfill the role that you chose this person and you signed up for?
I think that's the conversation that needs to be had before you even say I do.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That conversation needs to be had before you say I do. Now, we said that our foundation for marriage is spiritual. Part of that spiritual walk is knowing the understanding of equally yoked and what that really means. And I don't think people really understand what equally yoked means.
Yeah.
And it's simple. I have to know, and that's another thing that gets misconstrued or misconstrued or not misconstrued, missaid. The Bible doesn't say help mate, it's help me. It's help me. So a helpmate and a helpmeet is something completely different. And that's where the equally yoked comes in. So I need to know, if I fall short, you can pick the ball up.
Mm-hmm.
If you fall short, then I should be able to pick the ball up. So, and the best person to ever explain to me equally yoked, I know I'm trying to be quick with this. My wife and I, when we first started dating, she took me to her church, and we'll have that conversation off and about that experience. And the pastors of the church were her godparents, and they first time they met me didn't know me Adam from Eve. And it was like, well, we think you and Viva are not going to work out because your guys aren't equally yoked. But at that time, I was naive in my faith. Like, I was 18 years old. Grew up in the church, but certain church terms still wasn't registered to me. So I didn't know what equally yoked meant. Mm-hmm. Following Sunday, I went to my bishop, went to my pastor, and asked him. And Brian, you know who my pastor was growing up, Reverend Burston.
Yeah.
So I went to Reverend Burston, was like, hey, what does equally yoked mean? And he gave me the best example. He said, equally yoked means this: if you have a horse and you have a donkey and you attach them to a plow, they're not going to have the same motion. They're going to do two different things. But if you put a donkey and a donkey on that same plow, they're going to work together. That's what equally yoked means.
Okay.
Hey, Aunt Tammy. That's my aunt.
That's your aunt. Okay.
Hi, Miss Tammy. So I was like, all right, cool. So now I had this idea what equally yoked meant. So that's one of the things that you have to understand before you even say, even before you ask her, to take your name. You need to have that conversation like, hey, if I get sick, will you be able to take care of the house?
Yeah.
And the bills?
Yeah.
And that same conversation needs to be had with you as a man.
Not only are you able, but are you willing?
Right.
Yes.
Like me and Sean, we had this one saying where, everybody was doing the 50-50. Like we had this saying like we're 100. Sometimes she may be 90 and I may be 10. Sometimes she may be 60, I may be 40. Sometimes I may be 40. But you have to be willing to carry whatever percentage you need to carry. Like it's been some days I was 99, she was 1%, and I had to carry, and it flipped sometimes. Like, even when I had my knee surgery, like she had to be that 80%. I was working on 20%, operation. Like she, and like I said, she was willing to do that because we built that like Kevin said, we built that foundation before we got married. We knew what each other expected of each other when we made this decision to become husband and wife. We knew that, there's going to be some days where I'm on top of the mountain. There's going to be some days where I'm down in the valley and vice versa. And like, we just got to know sometimes you may not have to come down in the valley with me, but hold a rope so I could come up.
Right.
That's mine.
Now that was a discussion that my wife and I that we had, that she would, and I know where she got it from because that's how she was raised. She would say, "My money, my money, my money," and I'm like, "It's not your money. It's our money.
It's our money. Yeah,
it's our money." But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, you work with what you get, I work with what I get. But at the end of the day, like you said, who's 60-40? Who's 80-10 or 80-20, whatever? I know I suck at math. So, but so
we
like,
yeah,
stop,
stop it. My education was good.
But my point is, I carry the heavy bills because of what I make. I can carry the heavy bills. So even if I go out and I get sick because of the type of job I have, I can still carry the heavy bills. No, you both can be.
You can both be saved, but
still not be equally.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true.
You be different places in your walk of faith too, where you may be more ahead or like, that's it. I love the quote.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Naeem. I'm looking at Naeem.
I know. Naeem always got to be messing something up. Like, hi, Naeem.
You've been led astray, Naeem.
One thing I tell young men or whatever, if you hear a woman say, like, your money is our money and my money is my money, leave.
Run.
Immediately.
Run.
Block her with the plague. Just leave.
With the plague.
Just leave.
Here's my comment, because you get a lot of, especially with the inception of social media, like everybody is a relationship author or a relationship therapist, or everybody got something to say about marriages and relationships and so on and so forth. And there's so much information that you have to combat with. I might get mad. Well, let me not say me because I'm not married. One of y'all could get upset about something and be talking about it, and then everything in your news feed shows up fueling whatever thought you've been talking about. And some people then in turn believe those thoughts and then bring those thoughts into their marriage. Like, how do y'all caveat, or how do you deal with the outside influences? And it's not always people. Sometimes it's just information that then could come in to try to wreck what you've either already established, or it could be just bad information from, before y'all got married.
Yeah, let me answer that. Let me answer that. For one, your brain is supposed to be a filter, not a sponge. That's the problem with some people, is they're taking in all this information and just treating it as law instead of saying, hey, let me check this out, or let me do some research on this first. Because my whole thing is, don't get me wrong, if you make enough money to pay the bill, pay all the bills in the house or whatever, you make enough money to pay all the bills, fine. I understand that. My whole thing is when I hear the phrase "your money is our money and my money is my money,"
Mm,
what I think is that even if I'm at a point and I'm making a certain amount of money and I'm taking care of the house, I'm taking care of everything, and shit goes south, and say it may not, I might not be sick, but I'm just not making as much money as
Hmm.
I normally would to take care of everything, right? So, and like I said, a woman, you've been paying all the bills in the house, right? So when she says, "Well, my money is my money," she supposed my whole thing is if I'm paying all the bills in the house and you don't really have anything to do with, you should be saving it, correct? My whole thing is if I get to a point where I ain't gonna say down and out, but like if I'm making, I don't know, let's say if I'm making $200,000 a year, but then I get to a point I lose that job, but I can only get a job making $100,000 a year, right? But there's certain things that I can't pay for or we need to catch up on. When a woman has that phrase or has that mentality, that tells me that while I'm out here struggling and trying to keep everything afloat, you gonna be sitting up there with your feet up, sipping your tea and your wine or whatever you sipping, sitting on money, just watching me struggle. I don't want a woman like that in my life.
mm,
As
For what?
far as the outside influences, I will agree with Mr. Lee that your mind should be your filter and not a sponge
Yeah, that's a good one.
because you have if you're a married woman and you hanging out with single women, why are you taking advice from them?
Hmm.
Eh,
Why are you now hear me out? Why are
yeah,
you taking
I can
advice from
see what you're saying, friend.
why are
I
you
see what you're
taking
saying.
advice from single women that go out every night? They don't have the same responsibilities that you do as a wife,
Right.
as a mother.
Hmm.
So why are they telling you, girl, he should be doing this and he should be doing that? They're not in the same. They're not even in the same baseball stadium as you.
Hmm.
They still in the parking lot. Because the reality is, they want to be where you want to be at. But right now, misery loves what
It's kind
Come.
company.
mm,
And single women keep they. You heard that saying that single women keep women single.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And my whole thing is like, if you are at that, there's nothing wrong with listening to. It's not. I don't think there's anything wrong with listening to your single friends. I think it's something wrong with listening to unhealed people. I think
Mm.
there's something wrong with listening to that because the problem is like a friend of mine. I was telling him we were talking about like he's not healed from trauma or whatever, and I'm saying is like I told him and I told a couple of other people, like you need to have that healed perspective. You need somebody in your life with the healed perspective of the opposite sex. You know what I mean? You need that because if you are constantly, because I look, let's keep it a buck. Everybody's got burned by somebody, right?
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, men and women, correct? Okay, so your outlook on life shouldn't be everybody's coming to get me. That shouldn't be your outlook. Like you need to have a healed perspective of the opposite sex. Like you shouldn't be thinking that all men are this way or all women are this way. Like you shouldn't be thinking that. That's that's probably like you can probably scare good people away thinking that way.
mm,
And that's the problem. It's like you can tell if, and sometimes some women can't, because they're blinded because that's their friends, and you can tell just by uh the message that they're giving you or the advice they're giving you is not good advice. You
Can
know what I
I?
mean? Like, every time you do something wrong, they tell you should leave his ass, girl.
And I and
What?
I and I think to some degree that when we get married, and this is male female, though it happens more on our side of it, that we don't change our relationships with people. Like I've had a friend, I've been single, more than I've been in a relationship, and we've been friends for a really, really long time. And I talk to her about everything, anything, all that kind of stuff. If I was to get married, the thought process around our relationship has to change because, to Tony's point that we put up there, there's certain things that I can't have a conversation with her about because now I'm married.
Right.
Right.
Venting is a great thing and it's a terrible thing all at the same time, because we tend to vent to people about what our significant others are doing and how it makes us upset or pisses us off or whatever, and then we go and reconcile, but we never tell the person that we've reconciled, so then they have a perception of what my relationship is, so then it fuels how they feel about
Uh-huh.
relationships and marriages. So then the terrible stuff that I've spewed out to this person is now coming back, and it's now amplifying because now I'm still listening to it. So it's just like this terrible perpetual like circle of things, and can cause some relationships and marriages to fall apart because there's too many people inside the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do me a favor, Chris?
Yeah,
Can you pull Naeem's last comment back up real quick? Because I want to
a really
follow up.
long one.
No, no,
Oh,
no. The All right. So he says, to my point that the single friends hating or encouraging their friends not to sit in misery. I want to clarify what I was saying. If your friend, your married friend, your married homegirl is not in misery, like there's nothing wrong with the marriage. She just don't want to spend money. She don't want to spend her money. And your friend or her friend is telling her, well, you shouldn't. He's the man, da 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 da. That's a problem.
mhm.
That's what I was saying. That's a problem
Mm-hmm.
because they're not in your situation.
Right.
And now, I will say, if you have unbiased single friends and a true friend that will hold you accountable for
Yeah.
your actions, then that's the
Uh-huh.
friend that you need to talk to. So, like for me, granted, it's my older brother, but he's been married for over 30 years. But the thing is, he holds me accountable if I'm wrong.
Right.
And if he feels like my wife is wrong in the situation, he'll explain to me how to go and approach her about it
Mm-hmm.
from a perspective so that she will understand where I'm coming from. Because sometimes we don't speak as men, we don't translate what or convey what we're trying to say to our spouse, so they'll understand that it's not just us talking and not just us going. You see what I'm saying? Not just us beating on our chest. It's
Right.
I'm trying to talk to you about something. And yes, that's my wife right there.
I was getting ready to
Leaving a
say,
comment.
he was talking
But
about you.
yeah, but I'm smart enough to know I go to him because he's going to hold me accountable.
Right.
So if you got a single friend that you know that's going to hold you accountable, then that's fine. But if you got that single friend that's like, girl, or yo, fam, like, shorty ain't putting up the money in the house, you need to move on to another shorty. They ain't the people that you need to be talking
You
to.
be right. Yeah.
Agreed.
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 Yeah.
So let's ask this question since we're here, and I'll start by asking Brian this question. As a married man, what circle of people do you keep around you that either helps or hinders the marriage relationship that you and Sean had?
Me personally, like we didn't have too many people that hurt our marriage because I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Dating University when they asked me like it was anything negative about, when my wife passed or anybody. I'm like, well, I didn't keep those kind of people in my circle. Like I try my best not to have negative people. Now, of course, there's going to be people who's always going to have their opinion. Like that's just something you can't get away from. But the way me and Shauna the way we maintain our marriage, we just, again, like my Aunt Tammy said, like Aunt Peanut, that's what we call it. Like Aunt Peanut said, we kept it between ourselves and God. Like, any issues, I pride myself on saying that if me and Shauna had an issue within our marriage, the first thing we didn't do was run to social media. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people with their marriage. They're quick to tell everybody else about their problem before they even tell their spouse their problem.
Mm-hmm.
They quickly be like, my husband didn't do this, my wife didn't do this. And sometimes that your spouse finds out on social media, like, yo, what are you doing? Like, and with me and Shauna, when we had those issues, again, we kept it to ourselves. But as far as like the positive people we kept around us, my Aunt Tammy, my Aunt Peanut, she was definitely one of them. We tried to surround ourselves with people who had years ahead of us inside of the marriage. Like what Kevin said, with his older brother had 30 years worth of marriage. And so we always just try to, we had a good balance. We were surrounded by people who had some years on them and some that was a little behind us. Like there was a good yin and yang when it came to our wedding. We was able to pull from everywhere to, build a foundation for ourselves. And I think that's part of the reason why the Married Life podcast became what it was, because it was just a combination of what we have learned and what we were still learning, and just wanted to share with people. Some people may not have that well to go to the pull from, and we just offer that. But yeah, like if I'm naming names, some of the people that has impacted, I know definitely impacted me and Shauna as far as our wedding. Again, was my Aunt Peanut and her husband, her sister who raised Shauna, Aunt Pig, and her husband, Uncle Robert. Of course, my parents, and my kids' godparents. They have, and my pastor, like the pastors that have led, at my church has definitely been a pillar, a almost a measuring stick of what you want to strive for. Like, even as a male, if I had issues, I even went to the females sometimes, and I went to the males. So I never try to corner just one part of it. Sometimes I needed a female perspective from it, so I went to the females. Sometimes I needed a male perspective from it, so I went to the males. But yeah, it's just, I always try to keep, even in life in general, I always try to keep people who has experience from me, like, that has some years on me, even in life itself. So
Kevin or Timon, did y'all have a response to that?
Yeah.
I think the people.
No, you go ahead, Kevin.
Okay.
I think the people in my circle, you should know him, Timo, Leonard Coleman.
Yeah, I know Leonard.
Yeah. So Leonard's been married a year longer than me, but even before he got married, Leonard always held me accountable. Like he always called me out on my BS. And even now, if I'm out of pocket, he calls me out, which I will always appreciate. Like I said, my brother, my pastor, like she's known me the entire existence of my life, which is 46 years. So she's known me my entire life. And once she got to know my wife before we got married, she was like, oh, she's so sweet and caring. And then she seen my wife get mad one day, and she was like, oh, that's a different side of that girl. I was like, yeah, I told y'all. But even when she's wrong, my pastor will hold her accountable, and she holds me accountable. So I tend to keep my circle small by design. Yeah. I tend to keep it small by design. My sister, my older sister, she loves my wife to death. And if I'm wrong, she's always big sister me. Kevin, you need to do better. Kevin, stop doing this. Or she'll talk to my wife. She'll talk to Viva, be like, Viva, sis, stop playing with my brother. You know how he is. You need to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you got to have those people, like I said, that's going to hold you accountable, and people that's not going to kid glove you. Because you're married. You're married. You can't be, and for lack of better term, or I can't think of anything better, pussyfooting around in your marriage. You got to be 100% all in. And if you're not, then what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had to get rid of some people. So,
Facts.
I had to get rid of some people because some are like, you motherfuckers, wow, that's not gonna happen. It's like I had to get rid of some people. Like even my wife was saying, like, and I would tell her, like, I don't know about this person. Like I remember when she said to me, because I told her, I said, I don't like my birthday because don't nobody come around, don't nobody do this, whatever. She said to me, maybe it's not your birthday, maybe it's the people that you choose to hang around. So I pondered on that, right? And I said, okay. So, and that's what I did. I just got new people to hang around, the good people. You know what I mean? Like, like Charles Pratt, you know, uh, uh, Roger, Roger,
Yeah, yeah.
Brian, Roger, Gerald. Like have a whole brotherhood of people around me because I know they'll hold me accountable. And that's what I needed. And my whole thing is I had all these people in my life that they would justify my BS
Yeah,
instead of
yeah,
holding me accountable.
yeah.
You know, and you gotta, and it's just like as far as maturity, as you mature, you gotta see that and just make changes.
Man, I know one time, I don't know what I was going through in my life, but I prayed to God. I literally prayed to God and asked him to remove my enemies. And people I thought was friends just fell off.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just,
Mhm.
That's
it,
that's a
it,
powerful
it,
prayer because it works every time.
yes, every time. And it was just like, oh, wow, this person stopped rocking with me. God, this person, and especially when I went into ministry. When I went into ministry and I told everybody I was going into ministry, I was going to put the collar on and be a clergyman and minister. A lot of people just stopped rocking with me. And I was like, okay. It wasn't like no goodbyes, like, yo, you doing you, I don't want to interrupt. One person did that. It was like, yo, because you about to go do what you do, and you know what I do. Right? I don't want you to have to make a choice. So I'm gonna make the choice for you. And I
Wow.
respected that.
Yeah.
I respected that. I was like, I can respect that. So I was just like, yeah, man, sometimes you gotta ask God to remove people from you, especially those who are praying for your downfall in your marriage, in your life, just in general. And I yeah, I'm a
So let's kind of pivot just a little bit. So we've kind of talked about the husband, the understanding of the term provider. We've talked about being vulnerable. We've talked about surrounding ourselves with individuals that hold us accountable and are people who have had some longevity and time in marriage, so that we have individuals in our circle that kind of keep you grounded, and help to keep you, I guess the term would be focused on what you should be doing as a husband. But what have been some of the challenges in your understanding of the blueprint of a husband that you've experienced in your marriage, and how did you resolve those things? I know.
Can you repeat that question, please?
I don't know, because I just made it up.
I think I got you. I got you.
So
I
the,
think-
the challenges.
I think the challenge is
Being a husband.
the
Yes,
biggest
challenges
challenge.
being a husband and how you resolve them.
Okay.
The biggest challenge I had, or Viva and I had, I gotta stop saying me because it's two of us. That she and I had was submission, and we talked about this on your surrender show. That was the biggest issue that she and I had, was the submission part, because I didn't understand what submission was, and neither did she. And it's always, that one Bible quote uh, um, why is it drawing a blank about
Why,
women be
why,
submissive? Wives
yeah.
be submissive to your husbands. That's said one time in that entire book. It's like verses before that telling men to be submissive to your husbands. It's after that verse where it's the Bible says men be submissive to your husband.
Wives.
So
So you mean wives, men,
yeah,
men be submissive? You said it
yeah.
twice.
I'm
So,
sorry, but no, because it's before and it's after it. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't understand that because you grow up going or hearing that you supposed to the woman's supposed to just do whatever you tell them to. You know, like I'm the man, you follow my lead. And that was my mentality. That was my mentality. And it was like, and it was brought to my attention, you wrong. That's not what that means.
Right.
Your wife has to, yes, she does have to be submissive to you. But guess what? You got to be submissive to her too.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't get that.
Right, Naeem.
Right. Thank you, Naeem. Because people hear the word submissive and they think it means to control or to dictate, you know, or to have ownership over somebody. That's not what that means. So for me, in my blueprint, in my blueprint to be the husband that God had called me to be, I had to learn how to be submissive to my wife. Now, also, my wife, in order for her to be the wife that God called her to be, she had to be submissive to me. So that means even sometimes if you don't agree with each other, fall back. All right, you know what, babe, you're right. Let's try it your way. Let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work your way, then let's try it another way. Or vice versa. Not some both people, one of y'all can't always be in control. It has to flip-flop. Now I want to say flip-flop, but it has wrestling reference, hot tag.
Yep.
It's your tag team partner.
Mm-hmm.
If you in trouble,
all three of y'all understood that reference.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I got that reference.
I'm about to say
I got
reference.
it.
All right, Captain America.
All right, all right, Chris. What a hot tag is in wrestling is when you're watching a tag team match, right? And the guy in the ring is getting beat up, he's getting pummeled, and at the last ditch effort, he jumps over, tags his partner. His partner comes in and saves the day, helps his friend out, blasey, blasey, blasey. That's a hot tag. So you have to be able to tag your partner in, or tell your partner, come tag me in, and be willing to take the tag.
And that goes back to the 60-40. Like some days you may be 60, she may be 40.
Right.
Some days you may, like that goes back to that. Like some days you need that. Like
say that again, Naeem. Say that again.
Yeah, it does not make you a simp. Right. I hate that word. I hate that word, simp. I hate it with a passion.
Well, because my whole thing is with the word simp is like with people, that's another word that people don't understand. They use it wrong. So like that, the simp is like somebody that's basically taking their that's just disregarding their morals and character just for a woman. Right. That's basically what a simp is. And some people think that, like, you know, when they talking about what's my man name? Sierra's husband, Russell Wilson, and he talking about all this stuff like he a simp. That's his wife. What do you mean he is a simp?
He's supposed to do that.
He's supposed to do that. They were like,
see, those the guys that's not married. That's what I'm talking about. Those the people that's not in the stadium that he's in. You're in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in the parking lot. How about instead of you buying a ticket, come join the team, and then you can understand.
Okay, put that on the t-shirt.
Yeah, I like what Naeem says. Like,
put that on the t-shirt, Naeem. Put that on the t-shirt.
Like I be trying to tell people is like I remember when some guys I knew, like my stable mates when I used to do MMA or whatever. They like, man, you done got soft and docile, and I was like, oh, okay. Like I said, you said I asked him, I said, I'm soft and docile, right? He said, yeah. I said, but who the first person you calling when you in a tight pinch and you need somebody to have your back in a fight? Like, yeah, I'm calling you. Right. I was like, because you know I'm gonna go because you know I'm gonna go from Teddy to Grizzly real quick. It's gonna happen real quick. So it's like you can say I'm soft, and I'm cool with being called. Like I remember that used to make me mad. Like, I don't even make me mad no more. I'm cool with being called, but like we know that if things go on the other end, you basically you playing with your life at that point. So you know, and like
Okay.
nobody wants. I was like, and if you don't want to get sent to the lower room, just
Yeah.
don't. Don't.
Not the living room.
Yeah.
I got one more thing to say, and I'm gonna be quiet. I got one more thing to say. I'm gonna be quiet. To your question, Chris, about challenges. Another challenge that I had in my marriage, that was brought to my attention by my brother. You can't be your wife's friend. You
Now,
are her husband.
Explain
that one. Yeah,
Okay.
I need that. Yeah.
So you are her husband first and her friend second.
Okay, I get you. I get what you're saying. Okay.
Keep
So-
going. Keep going, because I need a little more explanation.
Yeah, I understood that reference.
Yeah, I understand.
So the reason why that was taught to me and I understand it is because when you're your wife's friend, you're not the authority figure that you're supposed to be. Because sometimes as the husband, you're gonna have to put your foot down, and your wife's not gonna like it. You're gonna have to stand fast and stand, as we say now, stand on business in certain situations.
Yeah.
And if you her friend, then it's a likelihood she's not going to take it serious. But if she knows that it's coming from her husband, and so like for me, my wife knows when I'm in husband mode, because I don't pull no punches.
Yes.
I'm not pulling punches. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not going to hold your hand. Either you're going to receive what I say, or we're going to wind up having a discussion until you receive what I say, because I'm not backing down on this. Now, as your friend, you can talk to me about how your work day went, how people at your job is agitating you. We can joke and play because I'm your friend second. But the day we said I do, I was no longer your friend first.
Yeah.
Right. I get that. I get that.
So that was the other part of the challenge, that I had to be able to create that line for me as a husband, when to be a husband and when to be a friend.
And you know what, Kevin? I think that was part of my challenge as well. It was finding that balance, because I'm not gonna say when I got married, I was still more Brian than Mr. Johnston. If you understand what I'm saying. Like I still had a lot of, I ain't gonna say I had a lot of play, but I still try to balance where Brian started and Mr. Johnston ended, and vice versa. Like, being a husband was something new to me. So again, I thought I was supposed to be, in lack of a better word, a simp. Like I do this, do that. And with that, sometimes you find yourself, you losing yourself inside of the role of being a husband.
Okay.
Sometimes you're so caught up in being, you're more Shauna's husband than you're more Shauna's husband than Brian, or then like your identity is more being a husband than being yourself. And I think for the first couple of years, that was my Achilles heel, as you could say. Like I just trying to find, because at the by the time we got married, I had my bonus girl, I had my bonus daughter, and Austin was 2. So I was already in that father role. So now on top of the father role, now I gotta be. It was okay being a father and boyfriend / fiance, but when I became a husband, like Kevin said, you was a husband first, and everything else falls after that. Like I after we was husband, like I wasn't her friend no more. Like some get out of here, Nat. It's just hovering around my head, like but
just like a wife.
Huh?
I'm joking.
No, stop.
I'm gonna hear it. I'm so gonna hear it.
You gonna get it tonight. She gonna come see you tonight.
Viva, I am not responsible for that comment.
Like
it was just for me.
Why you say that?
Finding that balance of, like, just how to be Brian and Mr. Johnston at the same time, or when to be Brian one time and Mr. Johnson, because sometimes those are two different people. So just got
Yes, mother.
So
just got
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So again, here's another caveat to this portion of the conversation. When it comes to conflict, because y'all are talking about husband role comes first. And when you're making a decision as a wife, I may not like it. It may not be nothing I want to do. It may not be nothing I feel like I need to sign up for. I don't agree with it. I think it's the dumbest idea ever. However you want to package it. How do you then in turn deal with the conflict that comes from making a husband decision?
Sometimes it's communication. You literally just have to communicate with them. Like me and Shauna, with our marriage, we played on each other's strengths a lot. There was a lot that she wasn't good at and I was, and vice versa. So even if it was like for a quick scenario, Shauna was way more financially responsible than me. And like even like I will go to her, and for like case in point, when I broke my truck, I was like, listen, this is what needs to happen. Da, 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 da. She crunched the numbers. And I was like, I'll take it in consideration. But if I want to buy this truck and I know we need this truck, then we're going to buy this truck. Like you like I said, it's just more of a communication type thing. And again, like Tamal and Kevin said, you have to lay that groundwork ahead of the marriage. Like you have to just know how where it comes from, and husband decisions versus joint decisions.
Finish your thought, and then we'll get to
it.
No, I'm just because it was almost going into that. Okay. I was almost going into that. Like we just got to know what benefits the household and what benefits the person. Sometimes that's where the husband decisions enjoy. Sometimes a husband decision may not benefit the house. You may think it does, and it doesn't. As compared to
she's actually your aunt Peanut is absolutely correct.
Yo, she just went
absolutely correct.
I had to.
See, so my aunt Peanut, that's Shauna's biological aunt. So
it don't matter who aunt it is. She's
it's just a funny comment.
1,000% right now.
Yeah, she's 1,000%. She know for a fact Shauna, she would not have allowed me by that cup. Nah.
Aunt Peanut, you welcome back anytime just for this comment.
In all fairness, when you had disclosed that information about the coffee, did I or did I not ask you, was this before or after your wife transitioned? Because I know for a fact, as a husband, and I will admit, my wife is just like Shauna. My wife is better with the money because I go to her like hey, can I get $20 for lunch? And she,
listen.
And I'm not ashamed of it. People are like, you get lunch money from your wife?
Yes. In his head.
Yes. Look, Tim. You can do. You can hold the head of shame, whatever. I'm a man in mine. All right.
I get it.
Like I said,
I get it.
So, all right, because my wife like, look, I don't want you starving. So here, thank you. I appreciate you.
My wife knew if I went to somewhere on my own devices to buy lunch, a $5 sandwich would become a $25 meal, and you be looking like, yo, what? So that coffee, she wouldn't. Nah, that wouldn't happen.
So let's go ahead and answer Naeem's question. So for you guys, what do you consider husband decisions versus joint decisions?
Joint decisions.
I think a husband decision to me is because sometimes our children and sometimes our wives are a little bit more emotional than we are, and a husband decision to me is keeping them or basically saving them from themselves, right? Even though sometimes it don't work, but sometimes that's what it is. Like a joint decision is when we're both level-headed and we're both like, okay, or we're making decision better for the family, that's going to better the family, or something that's for the whole family. That's a joint decision, something that's going to affect everybody. That's a decision we make together. But sometimes as a husband, like, you gotta make, these
Executive decision.
decisions. Yeah, like with these, with the children, with like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. Like, now that it going well, that we don't have the money or whatever to do X, Y, Z. Well, I'm gonna do it anyway. Oh yeah, all right. And you go, and like you like, yeah, you go right ahead. Watch what happens. Go. I'm gonna
No,
turn
no.
that.
See, I don't do that.
Like, I'm
I
gonna
don't do
turn that.
that.
I'm gonna turn the card off. Turn.
This what I do. No. This what I do. This what I do. And my wife will testify to this. Okay, you want to do something for the kids, but we financially can't do it, but you're determined to do it. I'm for it. If you can show me where the money comes from without impacting our bills.
Yeah.
If you can show me where where you can pull this extra money from without impacting our bills directly,
Yeah.
I'll go for it.
Right.
But if you can't, it's dead. Don't bring it up no more.
Right. I agree with you. Because I'm like, I ask the same question. Where the money coming from?
Right.
Yeah,
So that's their husband, as Naeem put it, that's their husband decision. If you can show me where this money comes from without it infecting our everyday lives, I'm for it. I know she be hiding money. Yeah, I know she do, but that's something that her grandmother taught her.
Mhm.
So it's not like I don't know. I know she hides money. No,
you just don't know where she hided it.
Right, I just don't know where she hided it. Right.
My whole thing is, yeah, and I agree with you. And that's fine. Like, if she has money, but you know that she's hiding it, and that's my
Right.
whole thing. Is like, I wouldn't want my wife just hide money and then, like, we need it, and then she just like, oh well.
I got $10,000.
Right. You know what I
But,
mean? Like,
but you know what though? In that situation, if it's like, oh well, look, man, I had a rainy day fund. That okay? How much is in your rainy day fund? 10 bands. Whoa, what you was this like? In case this Negro get up and leave me fund? Like you,
But
you
some
be
people
skipping this.
consider, some women consider that a rainy day fund because that's what they've been taught.
Sure,
They've
yeah.
been taught like you
Yeah.
always have a separate account somewhere else. That if you gotta leave, he doing something, and something don't come out right, and you gotta bounce quickly. You ain't gotta say nothing. You ain't gotta do nothing. You can leave like a thief in the night because you got this money saved up.
So, so now begs the bigger question: How down were you from the beginning?
I'm
If
just
you had
saying
that,
that's some people's
but for you to
mentality.
have that, in the back of your mind while we're
Yeah.
married,
I don't
so
like that. I hate to kill. I don't like that phrase that
This one?
happy wife, happy life.
Mhm.
That's such a toxic phrase to me.
I
Wow.
never agreed with it.
And the reason why I say that's toxic, if I'm so much making her happy, I'm pouring out of myself into you. Like
Mhm.
Tamal said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if I'm pouring all this into you to make you happy, now
Mhm.
I'm pissed and everything. That's why I've always said, happy spouse,
Happy house.
Because if we're both making each other happy,
Mhm.
everybody benefits from it.
Right.
Like if I'm always mad, then it's gonna show in the kids when they say like, "Well, Daddy, I want some oodles and noodles." You ain't getting them. Like, and it's a whole case of oodles and noodles. But that's because I'm so busy in making sure my wife is happy that it's taken from everything else. So I always say, like, I remember when me and Shauna first got married, she said that, and I stopped her. I'm like, no. Happy spouse, happy house.
Happy
Like
house.
that's how we gonna live it. That's how we gonna work it. Because when you're happy and I'm happy at the same time, or if we're pointing to each other at certain times, it benefits everybody else. Like
it benefits everybody.
like not even in the house, it just benefits your well-being. Period. Even when
Yeah.
like if I'm so much pouring into you and I'm empty, and then I go to work on an empty cup, I'm now at work miserable.
Mhm.
I could be at church miserable because I'm not being poured into. But you bounce around, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And I'm walking behind you like, what's going on? Like,
And see, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but that goes back to my original, to Chris' first question. I said the Cosby Show was the marriage I envisioned because they poured into each other.
right.
Right.
Right. You know, granted, it was fictional characters, but it was actual marriages somewhere in America like that,
Like,
where they poured into each other. So, yeah, if, like you said, if I'm constantly pouring into you, but you're not pouring back, then don't ask me why I'm miserable.
Yeah, after a while you start dry heaving. Like, it's just,
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna be in no miserable marriage. I ain't gonna do that.
that's how it will. That's how it feels. Like when you pour into somebody, it's not being poured back. It's like you have nothing more to give, and then that's where the anger, the resentment, the unhappiness. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
You concentrate so much on making her happy, or vice versa. It could be you making your husband happy and he's not pouring into you. You've dried out. You are a sun-dried raisin sitting in August summer in Arizona, and then the first thing
you're just dead is what you're saying. You're just dead.
You're dead inside. Like my whole thing is like, it's like
are you laying down?
Some women, some women will, their head, like you making them happy, their heads will be so far up in the clouds, they ain't even thinking about you. They don't even care. They don't even care that you're happy, to be perfectly honest. They don't even care. It's like they'll be like, as long as I'm getting what I'm getting, and I don't really care about nothing. But then, not condoning it, then that's when the cheating stuff. Now you want to look through the phone and that, but you don't care. That's what I said. We talked about this before when you said how women's intuition.
Stacy.
We talked about women's intuition, right? And
I don't believe in that, but go ahead.
No, I believe in it. I'm gonna tell you why, right? And listen to me when I say this, because I even said this to women and their heads.
I already know where you're going. I already know where you're going.
Whoa. Women's intuition only works on what that particular woman cares about. It only works on what that particular. So meaning that if she cares about you being happy, then she'll be able to sense that. If she not really care about it's not like the where the cheating comes is because she cares about you being faithful to her. So of course it's going to go off then. Yeah. Right, you know what I mean? It only works on what that particular woman cares about. Yeah. So like I said, some women know you're unhappy. They just don't care.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that intuition starts when you get to know people. Like when you are cultivating that relationship before you get married, you as you're learning somebody, you learn to develop that at that point, so that when you do get married, it is innate that you recognize it. It's the littlest things that cause that intuition that we have to go off. It's not, you sitting in the room, sulking and doing all this stuff, or you being a monster in the house. It's, when you came in the door and the way that you sighed, let me know that there's something wrong.
Right.
So, but yeah, I had to leave this comment up there just because of what it is. It's a seed that ends up coming back to you. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, were you getting ready to say something? Okay. So as we're winding down here, one of the things I know, winding down. One of the things
somebody say wine.
Stop it. Coffee and tea, sir. We've gone a lot in a lot of this conversation tonight, talking about the way that people have been brought up, the thoughts and processes that people have carried in their single lives into their marriage relationships. Now, from a woman's perspective, and I'll use the church as an example because that's the basis that I know. It's always us preparing to be wives. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
A
And yes,
good,
that's in the Bible. But they tell us to prepare to be a wife. So I'm not a wife, and this is how some people are taught. I'm not a wife until he finds me, and then I'm a wife. But we don't ever have that conversation about men and husbands. So my question to you is were you guys husbands before you found your wives, or were you husbands when you found your wives?
Absolutely not.
yeah. I ain't become a
Absolutely
husband
not.
until I found my wife. Like,
Right. I didn't realize how much work it is. I was like, man, oh, this is that's what I was like,
yo,
this is
I was
this is
naive to
a
it because
lot.
I thought, honestly, and I'm gonna keep it 100. My first probably 6 to 8 months after getting married, I just thought being a husband was almost the same as being a boyfriend. I'm, I,
Yeah,
I kid you not.
me,
Like,
me
I
too.
went into that.
Me too.
I went into
I,
like just I, what? I guess that's just where that balance was coming from. Like, what's different? Like, what? Like, to me, I felt that like it literally took for me to sit down and talk to the people I surrounded myself around with that. Like, hey, you're not her boyfriend now. Like, there's
yeah,
like legalities aside, there's certain responsibilities and duties that you now hold as a husband. And I was like, well, I was already you was doing it as a boyfriend, but like you really have to do it now.
yeah,
Like, you really have to be that. And like the word we was talking about, like provider, and that's just providing financially, as Tim said, providing emotional support, spiritual support. Like my pastor, my former pastor Ron Womack, he always said, your husband is your first pastor. Like, some certain things you should learn from your husband before you even get to church. And I take that seriously. I mean, especially the way I was brought up. My father and grandfather were deacons in church, so I saw how they navigated and how they took control of the house. So yeah, for the first 6 8 months, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was any different from me being a boyfriend. I was like, oh yeah, you just got my last name now. Okay, cool. But yeah, that woke me. I woke up to that real quick.
hmm
I think
it's a
for
lot.
me, I played husband for a very long time because I lived with them
Okay.
before
Yeah,
we got married. So
me
that's what I
too.
mean by I
I
played
did
husband.
too. Yeah.
But in the same aspect of that, I knew once I got married, it was more to it. So I guess for me, I was a husband before I became a husband. It just became official when I
Okay.
said I
Yeah.
do, because I already knew what entailed of being a husband, and that's because of the people that were the other husbands, the actual husbands around me.
hmm
Because I watched what they did, I watched how they move, certain things they did. So I guess for me, like I said, I was already a husband before I became a husband, but I didn't have the actual title. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
have like the actual responsibility. So even then, if I wanted to skate, I could skate.
Right.
So, like Brian said, now the legal part is now involved because it's on paper, it's official. So I just can't skate. Now we gotta go through this. We gotta go through these motions. We gotta go through these motions. So, but I think me being an actual husband has just made me a better husband. It made me a better father, and it makes me a better man
Yeah.
at the end of the
Absolutely.
day.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask this my last question to you guys as husbands is we talked about a blueprint. And if you could think of three things that would be a part of a blueprint that you would like to give to another man that's either thinking about being married, is married, and having some level of difficulty in their marriage, or what have you, what three things would you want to give to them to say that should be a part of their blueprint as a husband? Go ahead, Brian.
Communicate. Um, share your feelings. Don't be ashamed to share your feelings. The same way you tell your wife, I'm not a mind reader. She thinks the same thing when it comes to you. Talk you. I'm even before Shauna passed, I was a big on sharing how I felt. If I, emotionally, like everybody calls me a big crybaby anyway. I don't care, but I was never ashamed of sharing my feelings. So, at, for me personally, I say communicate with your wife, share your feelings, and one big blueprint of being a husband: have fun in your marriage. Have fun.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, have fun. Like
I'm a,
you're with this person for the rest of your life, and trying to say this without getting too emotional. You never know when you or that person is gone. So I say to you, if you're been married for 3 years, 13 years, or 30 years, have fun with that person. Cherish every moment that you've had with cherish
I
every
want
moment that you have with that person. Like just have fun with that person. Yeah.
I want to piggyback on two things that Brian said because I agree with him. One thing is not only communicate but learn your spouse's language. What I mean by that is learn how to get your point across to her without, because sometimes us as husbands, the way we communicate is very blunt and very straight to the point,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes you're with some women you're not gonna get your point across that way. So like learn how to communicate with her and learn the language she speaks. Another thing is, like Brian said, have fun in your marriage. And one thing I'm gonna say is don't let your kids dictate your marriage. Far too
Yes.
often, what we do is we'll put so much time into the children. And my wife's a therapist, and we talk about this all the time. She'll have some couples. There are some couples, and I know a couple like this. They put so much into their children. Their children grew up, left the house. They don't even know each other no more.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And now they getting ready to get, people getting ready to get divorced because they don't know how to deal with each other. So it's like take those date nights, laugh and joke. Like I said, don't let these kids dictate your, especially like my whole thing is, and this is my whole thing,
Definitely.
right?
What is your beef with kids?
You know what my beef with kids? I'll tell you what my beef with kids is. Cause I'm gonna tell you what it is since you want to know so bad. I'm gonna tell you. My
It's
beef with
not that
kids
it's
is
not that I want to know so bad, but every time you mention kids,
It's
it's a little
Bruh,
habitual.
hostility.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna
this
tell
beef
you.
is serious and been
It's a
going on
little
Very
for a
serious.
long
Cause
time.
hostility.
cause they
And the thing is, you have children.
yeah they
You have
frustrate me.
children.
They frustrate me to no end. Like like just frustrate me.
So
Like
they're being kids, is what you're saying.
no. My little girl does not frustrate me.
Because she's your little girl.
No, it doesn't even matter.
Wait
It
till she
doesn't.
become
It
a
has.
teenager. I
Yeah,
promise
that's
you,
what I'm talking
all
about.
that's going to
The
change.
oldest ones, they frustrate me. So it's like you'll sit here, like my children will be like, well, they'll come and they'll get in trouble. And I'm like, you got in trouble for that like last time. Yeah, I know. And not only did you get in trouble for it last time, you did it the same way that you did it last time.
So not only are they glutton for punishments, they ain't smart. Got you.
So it's like my whole thing with kids is like I don't let the kids dictate the household. Like I don't let them like, oh well, my whole thing is like, did you do your homework? Yeah, I did my homework. All right, did you do this? Then like, all right, so you lied about it and you didn't do it. Okay, all right, cool. Give me whatever it is, and I'm not gonna let you frustrate me. I'm not gonna let you do the. I was like, I just like, me and your mother gonna have a good time tonight. You just gonna sit in your room. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like I don't because that's what another thing I used to do. I'd be like, man, I don't even want to. leave me alone. I don't even want. They used to make me so mad. I ain't even want to spend time. Like, so it's like I'm like, you can't, like, take those date nights, have fun with your partner. Um, like I said, don't you take care of the kids every day. The kids are fine. Okay. Don't let them dictate everything. Don't let them just overrun your marriage, because the marriage is actually between you and your wife, not the kids. That they can go put them outside somewhere, and just let them run around or
I put
something.
them outside.
And,
Yo, this guy.
To your question, Chris, Aunt Peanut touched on it, Brian touched on it, and Tim will touched on it. I'm going to add to it. Patience is a virtue in a marriage. Hindsight is part of that blueprint also. There's a reason why they say 20/20 is hindsight. Because you live and you learn from your mistakes. It's never more true the older you get. If I'd have knew then, what I know now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my third bit of advice is for the husbands, pick your battles.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That was,
I had
that
to.
was a
I had to.
resounding from the other
I
two.
had to.
so-
Man, I had to learn that one the hard way, Jack.
Battles. Because
You
look,
ain't lying.
I grew up in a house of, like I said, my father, 13 years before they got married. So it was my mother and my sister and myself in the house. And I watched and I learned that no matter how much proof or how much evidence you have as a man, you're going to lose an argument against a woman. No matter what. Because you can literally go, the sky's blue. She's like, no, it's not. It's turquoise. It is blue. Turquoise. You see the same sky I'm looking at, right? Yep.
You know
It
what?
is
You know what
turquoise.
happens? You know what happens when that happens to me? I'll be like, you know what? You got
You're
it.
right.
I
Right.
go in and turn my PlayStation on.
Yep.
That's why.
Hey, no,
That's
we're
exactly
not.
why
No,
I said.
we're
That's
not
exactly
going
why I
to sit here
said
and do that
pick
and ask.
your battles. That's why I
Yeah,
said
and ask
pick
silly
your
questions. I ain't
battles.
answering silly questions either.
What's a silly question?
Would you still love me if I was a worm? I'm not answering that. Silly ass. Thank God.
No,
Thank God,
no.
Mom.
Ask
That's
your
the
wife.
reason why I love my wife so much. Because
Ask your wife this question.
I don't have to deal with that foolishness.
No, ask your wife this question. It's a real question. It's silly, but it's a real question.
Mm-hmm.
If both my hands was broke and I had to go to the bathroom, would you clean me?
TMI. Oh, well, no, I guess. Okay. All right.
Look at Tim. Look at
I'm gonna
Tim's
ask that
face.
question. I'm gonna answer that question as soon as I get off. I'm gonna ask that question
Answer that question.
because I'm I don't know, because if she say something wrong, I'm some reevaluation might have
Right,
to go on.
right. You're gonna be reevaluating your
I'm
entire
like,
marriage, right?
Stop it.
I mean, I don't know if I want to ask that question.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
What? I don't know.
Look. Aunt Peanut then chimed in. Look at that.
See?
That's a real question.
That's a real question.
Aunt Peanut seal of approval right there. Ask the question.
See? Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Aunt Peanut.
I'm gonna ask.
I know
I'm gonna ask her. You know what? I ain't scared. I'm gonna ask.
Sickness and in health. Sickness and in health. There you go.
I'm gonna ask as soon as we get off here. I'm like,
You-
as soon as we get out, like, baby,
Miss Karen,
both my hands is broke. I had to use the bathroom,
All joking aside, though, I saw my mom do that with my dad when he had a stroke. Like, it was before he was able to do it for himself. She had to go in. She went in there and she did what she had to do. And like, yeah, that was such a pivotal moment. Like, just
Aunt
Oh,
seeing
Peanut,
how
I'm
they
still
had.
waiting on my answer.
What'd you say?
I'm still waiting on my answer.
Viva,
I ain't gonna
shut
yeah.
up.
Hey,
I ain't gonna know.
Viva, I know you gave me my answer, girl. I know you did.
She did not. She did not.
Mm.
I don't know. We gotta see if it happens. That's what I got.
Like, yeah, wait till the next time we out of milk. Watch it happen.
Kids gonna be eating dry cereal rest of their
Yeah,
life.
No, do not
wait-
do Barry like
wait
that.
till
Do not.
no, I wouldn't do my baby like that. You know, I wouldn't do her like
I
that.
know you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. No,
The
that's
kids, on the
that's
other
my
hand, you
baby.
might.
Yeah, that's what I told her. I said, baby, you're gonna have to live for a long time because
Yo,
leave me alone. You
I
leave me
can't
alone
with
with
this boy.
them, boy. Like
I
me and Katie, we gonna be all right, but no, older children, I'm just take me and Katie and pack up and just move to another country or something.
Lord
It's like
Jesus.
no, it's like no.
Well, my coffee and tea folks. On that note, we have come to the end of the show.
Oh,
I have had such a good time with you guys. This conversation has been absolutely amazing. So much good insight, so much good conversation. And I think it's an important conversation for people to hear and for folks to have because marriage rates are crazy.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the rate of divorce is ridiculous. And with
Mhm.
all of these married at first sight, married in 90 days,
I hate them shows.
don't
Love
let my
at
wife
First
hear you say
Sight,
that.
whatever the shows are called
I'll
are
text her and tell her. I hate them.
causing people to view marriage as like
So
it's the
trivial.
quick thing to do. It's the new social trend to do. And people need to understand that marriage really is work. There really is
Mhm.
take.
It is.
And there are roles and responsibilities that everyone in the relationship has. And if you don't do your role or fulfill your role or pay attention to the other person, that things can become detrimental. And I think too, to the point where I said I was going to do this, where I want to plug the Husbands Lounge podcast because
Yeah.
it has
Mhm.
given a space for husbands to have these conversations.
Right.
Charles and Anthony giving them a good shout out
Mhm.
because as women, we always create spaces for us to talk. We always create opportunities for us to have these conversations, and men don't get an opportunity to have it or to be vulnerable enough with each other to be able to have these conversations. So I appreciate you guys for coming on and having the conversations and giving us a little bit of a sneak peek into how you all have survived and thrived in your marriages, and that it really was work. When you got married, it wasn't all peaches and cream. Like the honeymoon is great, but the honeymoon period ends up being over and real life sets in and real life choices come in and real life
Mhm.
decisions have to be made. And it doesn't always happen the way it happens on the Cosby Show. So thank you for being a part of the show and sharing those points and values with us. I did want to give Kevin and Brian an opportunity to talk about and or plug your upcoming shows for your podcast if you would like to.
Go ahead, Gav.
So tomorrow, 8 o'clock, Facebook Live, YouTube. Also, Two Fat Guys Podcast. All one word, like a pit name slip back. We are going live for our spooky month, and we are doing honorable mentions for like the best horror villains. This honorable mentions for the worst horror characters. We are doing another battle. We are doing Chucky versus Meg. Yes, we're doing Chucky versus Meg in the battles tomorrow night. And it's yes,
I know, Brian. I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
No, I can't. I'll be at church. I can't do that one.
So yeah, we're doing that. Or you gonna miss the show, but you can run it back though on replay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing tomorrow night. We're doing battles. It's Chucky versus Meg, and we're doing some honorable and dishonorable mentions for some of the worst and best horror film characters around, like Pinhead. And just to give y'all an example, one of the battles we did week before last was Freddy Krueger versus Pinhead. And normally we do battles, we do stats. If it's like a movie, we do how much how much money the movie made box office worldwide, who wrote it, the characters involved, and da 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 da. And then people that listen in, we get their opinions. Before we can even get into the facts of Hellraiser versus Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy won in the first round knockout. We have never even had a first round knockout. Freddy took Pinhead out like that. The chat went legit crazy and was like, freak Pinhead Freddy. So if you want to see that go down again tomorrow night, tune in to Fat Guys Podcast. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and it's exactly what it sounds. The number 2 with a word 2, Fat Guys Podcast. Check us out.
Cool.
Brian.
Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing.
Merch.
We got merch. We got merch.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a sweatshirt. I'm gonna superimpose myself.
Brian, you aren't a fat guy.
Yeah, I'm a bald guy though. And 2 fat guys and a bald guy.
Oh,
There's 2 fat guys in the ball guy. There you go.
With me, Sunday, this coming Sunday, I got a new episode of In the Basement with B, where I'm doing episode 2 of The Powers That Be, and I am doing Spider-Man. With everything that's been happening with Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
I'm gonna break down Spider-Man's powers. I'm gonna give you the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and I'm gonna give you the Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland. What's up, Kevin?
He announced, what's the name announced? Next year they're gonna start shooting 4.
I didn't stream Venom, Last Dance, and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
I heard that movie was garbage, but I haven't seen it.
That's why I streamed it. It's garbage.
Okay.
It's garbage. Morbius.
No, we're here. We're here.
Morbius is better than
I got it in my show. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I plug one more?
I'm definitely gonna be doing it. That's coming up this coming Sunday at 7:45. You can catch me on Facebook Live. I'm soon to be transitioning to audio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as video on YouTube once I get my camera to work right, and I don't freeze like I just did. Also, in the second Sunday of November, which is November the 10th, I want to say, I will be having the Married Life will be coming back. I'm having a guest. My guest will be men and women that Tim and Kev we're pretty and Chris we're pretty well acquainted with. It's going to be the Pratts. So I'm having my good brother Charles and Adia as guests on the show. We're just going to vibe out. I've known these people for a long time, and we're just going to vibe out. There's going to be unscripted, but it's going to be filled with a lot of love. So I implore y'all, just come see me. You can find me on all social media. My social media handle is Brian N. Johnston on Facebook. On Instagram is Mr. _ Johnston, but instead of the number S is JOHN, the number 5 TON, as well as you can find the Married Life Podcast on there. I am about to create an In the Basement with B Instagram page. I don't know why I never had one, but I'm about to create an Instagram page for In the Basement with B, where you will see me start talking about new comic book releases, upcoming news. I'm actually about to do a video probably tomorrow about Blade being indefinitely delayed. So look for that. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And you can catch. I'm gonna plug them again since they're probably watching. Please, for all my gentlemen who are wanting to get married, looking to get married, or just in married and just need advice from an outside source, please do not. You consider yourself a disservice if you don't go take a listen to The Husband's Lounge with Charles Pratt and my brother Anthony Johnston. Those guys pour out such good facts. They speak from the heart. They speak from their truth, and they have guests. They just had the most recent episode. They had the Empty Nester with Mr. Rod Brown, And the episode before that was actually the one with me where I talked about me being a widower at such a young age. So, but just they are such a great it's such a great show. So yeah, you could definitely go take that a listen. But yeah, that's all I got. Chris, thank you for allowing us to be on here. This is such a great show. Every time you put the notification, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, the good thing about this is the caveat, the show after this will be the one with the wives. So I'm looking forward to some ladies signing up for the cause to be a part of the conversation. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm quite sure that this is not the last conversation we'll have about this. So I hope to have you guys back on again, if not for this subject, but for something else. The invitation is always open for you guys. Tamal, you do have to answer a question though, because the other two have answered it already. And it's a question that I ask all my guests. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm sorry, real quick. I apologize for interrupting. Your buddy is texting me, and if I don't do this, I'm gonna hit the end of it. Two Fat Guys Podcast. We are on TikTok, and Instagram, and Facebook. TikTok and Instagram is Two Fat Guys Podcast, the number 99. Two Fat Guys Podcast, the number 99 for TikTok and Instagram. Thank you. And I'm on Twitch.
Tell Dan next time he need to be commenting sometimes too, to be sending no messages. So I want to see it. I'll get him myself. So Jamal, my question is: are you team coffee or are you team tea? And what is your drink of choice?
Tea.
All right. And what do you, if you have tea, what do you drink?
Any type of herbal tea. Like sometimes I like mango, ginger, raspberry tea, green tea, any kind of tea. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, we know about the other two. So thank you everybody who had a chance to watch. Please make sure that you like and share this episode tonight. Please go to the Coffee and Tea Facebook page, leave a comment, leave a review. Just trying to work the page just a little bit. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.